Welcome everyone to another episode of Brothers in the Foyer. We are so glad to be with you guys today and you with us. I'm here with my brother Will, and we have an amazing special guest for us, our brother Stacey Harkey.
Amazing.
And we about to jump right into it. Yeah, amazing, man. I've been looking forward to this discussion ever since we had our little pre-show with you yesterday and got to know you a little bit more, man. I've been very anxious to get to this discussion.
Dive in. Let's
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
I love it.
So thank you for taking your time to be with us today and have this discussion. And just before we get started, for our audience that don't know you, know who you are, know what you do, enlighten us.
I don't even know what I do. I feel like, I'm still trying to figure that out. So my name is Stacey Harkey. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I was raised LDS. My parents were baptized and married in the temple, and me and my three siblings. There's four of us. Don't fact check that. We were all raised LDS. I went on a mission. I started working on a show called Studio C. Through BYU TV. It was very fun. Kind of gained a lot of popularity in the Utah area, and some of those like large LDS populations, so like Arizona, Idaho, some parts of California and Texas. And it actually grew to the point where we were like we were in California one day, and Conan O'Brien's walking by, and we're like, "Oh snaps, that's Conan O'Brien!"
Oh,
we're
shoot!
Like, oh. And he walks up to us, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're in his way." We're like scrambling. We're like, "We don't know where to go to get out of his way." And he's like, "Are you guys Studio C?" And we were like, wait, and it turns out he's a fan. So the influence of it started really growing, and kind of around its height, in a sense where we just had a couple things go viral. It was being reported on SNL. We had a chance to perform with Kenan Thompson from SNL, which was pretty fun.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. So in 2018, I came out publicly, and it kind of shook things up, at least in my world. I think sometimes it feels like you're everyone knew about it, but it's just it just felt like that because it's, my thing going on.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of the big trajectory. We soon left Studio C and started a company called JK Studios. We had a chance to perform on NBC and had some other cool opportunities, released a couple movies. One movie, just to clarify, one movie, a couple sitcoms, and we're doing live shows, and that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I didn't really go into my faith journey, but I mean, we can go on that if you want to, but that's kind of me in a nutshell. So if you ever heard of Studio C, or if you ever have seen BYU ads on ESPN or something, you might have seen me before, or sometimes random ads and reels on TikTok and Instagram. And if you've seen me there, I'm sorry. Because I'm a mess.
Nah, bro. Nah, appreciate it. And thanks for that introduction. Of course, we definitely want to hear about your faith journey.
Yeah. Okay,
cool. Because a big part of what we do here at Brothers in the Foyer is integrate just our personal experiences and our journeys in life with our faith and just how we live.
Oh, I love that.
And so my hope is our audience, out of this discussion with you, we can open up the people to a more united voice to have these type of discussions and be open without whether it be offense or judgment or whatnot. Because you mentioned, part of yourself is you coming out, and we would definitely love to know how that experience was for you and the treatment that you received in the church, out of the church because of that, and your life decision.
Yeah, it's scary to be I don't know. It's just especially nowadays, it feels like it's this versus that, and everything's so separated. It's kind of scary to venture into unknown territory and even listen to what people have to say without it's just hard and scary. So I think I commend that. I think that's really noble. I think that's not easy. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. This is definitely a safe space.
Yeah. Okay. Question for you guys. If you don't, I mean, I should have asked you this the other night, but what would you say is the goal of Brothers in the Foyer? Is it, what would you say the goal is? Is it, do you have a goal, or is it kind of we're just exploring these topics? I'm curious to know from you guys what the goal of the podcast is. Yeah.
Go ahead. You give your piece, I give my piece, and we definitely have a goal. Hey, they might.
I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, initially it was self. I wanted to have a brotherhood. Being out here in Utah is, it's hard. It's hard for our Black brothers and sisters, And so initially it was just man, I just want a brotherhood that I can kind of fall back onto. And And then it kind of grew into something bigger than that, where, I feel like it's almost like a personal calling to help my brothers and sisters, not to like, because most of these podcasts out here are pushing like Christ and the gospel on people. But I think something that we do,
like teaching the doctrine.
Teaching the doctrine, trying to combat, I'm like, bro, I did that on a mission. This is different.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
I think about that too. I served a mission in Brazil, and I'm like, anytime you got into a Bible bash, it never ends with someone being like, you're right.
At all.
You're just always like mad, and then you're like, you leave and you're like, I won, and you're like, that's probably not gospel language.
Right.
You don't win. Anyways.
Right. So long story short, really the goal is to help people, for us to see, like, not only see their point of view, but for them to see our point of view. And we do that by sharing our experiences with the gospel, good and bad, and ugly.
The real.
The real. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, starting off, my personal feeling about our goal aligns a bit with Will, and just to add a little bit more, like, reason we originally started was because of a temple experience we have. Go back, watch the episodes. If you don't know how we originally started or why, we do have some of those, but we had a unique experience, 5 black men in the temple, and we had some, abnormal attention. So after the temple experience, we were in the parking lot just discussing, like, man, we should really just create a podcast that will help normalize the black experience here in Utah. Like, normalize.
Yeah. I love the idea too of like, y'all chilling in the Celeste room and someone walks in and they're like, am I in the right place?
Exactly.
Did I take a wrong turn? I was like, oh yeah. I would walk in, I'd be like, if I walked in and saw more than 1.5 black people, I'd be like, God is real.
Yo, and not to say like it wasn't a horrible experience. It's not like we had a bad experience. It was just like, if we were in a congregation in the South, or let's say where it was a majority black people, like, would we have received the type of attention we did, right? Mm-hmm. So it was just, normalizing it. And then as we got further into it, my goal really shifted, because now it's not about just reaching out to the black community, which we want to do, we love to do, but it's more than just race. One of our, supporters, shout out to Daryl Eves, when we went to,
good people.
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, because he's at the forefront of like social media.
Yes.
Content creation in general. Okay.
Yes,
cool.
the YouTube guru, man. But yeah, he had us down to his house, and we did like this LDS content creator summit, and like he really just shifted my mind in terms of like our whole focus is not just like focusing on race, the race issue, because we're bigger than race. We're bigger than just being black men in Utah, but really just simplifying it to bringing people to Jesus, man.
Right.
Wherever they are, in the church, out of the church, poor, rich, wherever they are, focus on using our uniqueness to bring people to Christ. And so that's essentially, what I would say,
Man, I love that.
Our goal.
I love the concept too. I do think like sometimes it's like it's like the idea of like forcing people. But I think one of my favorite concepts is like when you let your light shine as bright as possible, it just like, it like warms people. It like allows people to feel comfortable letting theirs shine. It's just like, it like draws people in versus like trying to force them or push them somewhere. It's like you just be your best self, and naturally that influence will just like, it'll spread, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool. It's
Absolutely.
dope. I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
How about you? I mean, you said you didn't mention your faith journey before. What did your faith journey look like, and what does it look like?
Yeah, there's like a couple elements of, just to simply put, let's see if I can make this short. So growing up black in LDS was is a very unique experience. And I think one thing that I love that you touched on is like the experience you had wasn't necessarily, in the temple wasn't necessarily like this incredibly rude, but it did still affect you in ways. And I think when people sometimes are like, how does that work? I sometimes explain it like it's one thing to get decked in the face and you're like, ow, that hurt. You attacked me. Blah, that's a problem. That's really easy to sympathize with other people for. It's like, no one wants to get punched.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you get like flicked, it's kind of like, well, like brush it off, right? It's not a big deal. Someone just flicked you, not a big deal.
Right.
Twice, 3 times. But if you sit there and flick the same spot hundreds of times, you will leave bruises. You'll start to create wounds. And sometimes those experiences feel like the 100th flick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a punch in the face, but it still causes like feelings, and you still are like, you're like, something's going on. So I kind of love that concept, and I relate to that a lot. But yeah, essentially my journey is, simply put, I was like the overachieving, high achieving kid. I was like top 10 my graduating class in high school. I had a full ride scholarship to BYU. A lot of people assumed it was for sports. I'm 5'6", so I'd be like, I'd be like, what, badminton? What do you think of it? What? But yeah, one lady, she was like, she found out at a full ride, and she was like, when I first got to Utah, and she was like, oh my goodness, for what sport? As she's looking down on me from 2 feet up. But yeah, I was like I am still very high achieving. And part of that, as I look back, was kind of like the attempts to me to be like, if I'm perfect, if I do everything I can, God will fix me from this problem I have. Which I kind of just ignored my whole life. I was like, not a big deal. I'm going to ignore this problem. Go on my mission. I come back from my mission, and I start, it's time to like multiply and replenish, right? I'm like, I'm going to get married. I've always done everything by the book. And now it's time for me to like find my partner, my eternal companion. Yeah. And as I'm starting to date women, like more seriously, like in high school, it's like, like lighting for fun.
Yeah.
I'm like sitting with the fact that like, man, it's not really working out. It's not smooth. I look at my other friends and all these guys, and it's almost like easy for them. Yeah. Like in the sense of like maybe not easy, like dating is perfect, but it's just like, they just always knew what to do, and they knew when they had a crush. And it was kind of hard for me. And that whole like secret I had, that whole thing that I was sitting with was just like starting to become like, it wouldn't sit still. I couldn't just outrun it anymore. Yeah. And so I kind of had to admit to myself at a certain point that like dating women just wasn't working. And I talked to a couple bishops, and one of them was like, man, you just got to get married. You got to marry a woman and it'll fix it. And I was like, I don't think so. Yeah. I've luckily had the presence of mind. I was like, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. And so I'm already experiencing also this like tension as I'm trying to like rationalize, like figure out where my faith and my sexuality, like this integral part of who I am, that's not changing, how they can really work together in a way that's like showing up at my best, like I'm used to doing. Yeah. And I eventually just had to like, I was like, you know what, maybe dating women just isn't for me, and I'm supposed to be like this like celibate eunuch. I'm supposed to just like be growing tomatoes in a monastery or something. Like for real, I was like seriously like, maybe just like relationships are off the book, and my trial in life is to be single and to support where I can and just throw myself into service. Yeah. And I honestly, I'm like a pretty happy guy naturally, but that was like the lowest I'd ever experienced in my life. I was just like, it was just like, not that life doesn't have meaning without relationships, but it was like this huge part of myself that I wanted. I just had to cut myself off of. It almost felt like taking off like a couple limbs. It was just like, I just had to be like, you know what? I can have access to them, but I choose not to because that's the right way to be. That's how I am. Yeah. And I was so unhappy. I was very involved. I was teaching in Stake Institute. I had a couple callings, but I was like so unhappy. And one particular day, I used to do this thing where I'd drive up to the mountain and just like pray and just be like, God, help me. And it was so consistent. I would do it once a month, and then it became twice a month. Then it became every week. And it was like not getting easier. I wasn't feeling more supported. I wasn't feeling like, it was just getting harder. Yeah. And so at a certain point, I just find myself at a low, and I'm like, I don't think I can keep going like this. Like I felt like I was just gonna like implode. I don't know how to say it. Like I just knew if I kept going like this, that like I probably would make some pretty dangerous decisions for myself. Yeah. Like I've never been like, felt suicidal in a sense, but I think that was like going in that direction where I was just like, I can't keep going on like this. It's too hard. What's even the point of me being here? I'm like not doing anything for anyone. And I got on my hands and my knees, and I just like begged. I just like wrestled with the Lord. I was like, it's kind of a little douche about it. I was like, look, God. Right? Like,
we all
yeah. I was like, look, I'm tired of it. I remember praying specifically about it, and I was like, God, listen, I realized at this point that I'd only ever asked God to fix me. I've had one thing that I've prayed for consistently every night since I was a kid. And I remember being like in 6th grade, at the earliest, I always prayed that God would fix me from being attracted to men. As like a kid, that was my prayer. I was like, please God, fix me. And my whole life I carried that with me. And I realized that I'd never asked God like what he thought about me, like what I should do. I was just like, fix me, fix me.
Yeah.
And so I got on my hands and knees and I was just like, God, like, I need to know, like, should I stay in this like religion, like holding on to these beliefs that I'm fighting for, and I'm so unhappy? Should I stay here? And I promised, I was like, if you tell me to, I will stay. I will do it. I promised. I was like, but I need more than just like, I think this is right. I need some confirmation.
Like some
Like, give me burning bush.
concrete.
Give me split the Red Sea. I know you're capable. Like, give me something, because this is too hard
Yeah.
for me to just be like, I think I'm doing what's right. I think this is like, my faith is taking me in this direction. And I was like, so should I stay and stay unhappy and in this world, or should I leave and like look for a relationship and try to find happiness outside of this like religion that I've loved and been a part of for so long? And I remember so distinctly, so clearly feeling like loved for who I am. Like it wasn't like God was like, oh, I love you in spite of all your flaws. I felt like God loved me for every part of me, especially for like my sexuality. Like that was an integral part of me. That's like God loving me. He loves that I'm Black. He doesn't just love me and I happen to be Black. He loves that about me. It's like a huge part of me. And so I felt for the first time like loved, and I felt like distinctly like the way I am was not a mistake. And I remember, and this is something I hold on to this day, is like God doesn't make mistakes. And so by villainizing parts of myself that I may not like or love, I'm essentially like criticizing the work of a perfect God. And I was like, oof, yeah, that stuck with me. So I remember God loved me for it. And I also remember distinctly feeling like what I had learned and the things that had like shaped me, I didn't have to like leave those. Like this like dilemma of like leave or stay was like a dilemma I'd given myself.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I distinctly left that experience being like, everything about you, I've made you that way, is fine. And everything you've learned and grown with and parts that have shaped you are good. And instead of being like, choose between the two, I was like, oh, how do I blend these two together? How do I honor myself? How do I let my light shine as bright as possible without fighting the very like maker?
Yeah.
And how do I like navigate my relationship with religion and like faith? And so that started a very introspective journey for me. I kind of went inside and I was like, okay, how do I own who I am? And so I started like going on dates with guys, and I started like, it was scary. I remember downloading Tinder and I was like, God, I promise you, if this is the wrong direction, if you tell me, I was like, if you tell me, I'm going to turn around. And I remember really thinking about the beauty of the atonement, where it's like, I am trying my best to do what's right. And I trust that an all-powerful God knows that and will help me go in the right direction.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sometimes you gotta, it's like trying to change direction on a car that's like parked. It's like so hard to turn the wheel.
Yeah.
But if you're like going 70 down the highway to change lanes, you almost got to just think about it. It's like, ooh. So I was like, the Lord guides moving feet. So I was like, let me move. And so I started going on dates, and I started like getting to know myself in that sense, that sexuality. Like, what is it like being attracted to men and not demonizing that? And man, I'll tell you, the Spirit of God is of like power, love, and a sound mind, right? Not of like fear, as it says in 2 Timothy.
Absolutely.
I love it. But that experience was just like, I felt so at peace, and I just felt like I felt joy. And it was wild. I was like, these for me that was like the fruit of the Spirit. That was the things that I was like, okay, this is me going in the right direction. I feel good. I'm touching base. I'm checking in with myself, with the Almighty. So I was like, that was cool. And as I'm going on this journey, I starting to like sit with like, what did I believe? Well, if like this part of who I am is not bad, then what beliefs do I hold on to that encourage that is wrong and that's bad? And so I started kind of like reanalyzing my beliefs, the whole time I'm just like checking in, like, God, am I in the right direction? That was really hard for me. I was so scared to go in the wrong direction. So scared. For someone who was like top 10 in their graduating class, like overachieving, like messing up is like scary. You know what I mean? That like initially for me signified eternal damnation. And I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like I used to believe that like God put us in this, like life was like God putting us in this like completely white room and giving us these like paint supplies and being like, do not get this room dirty. Do not mess up the room. And I spent so much of my life trying not to like touch the walls or like spill anything. And if I did, there was the atonement. It can help me like clean the walls and it's a white room and it stays pure. That's how I used to believe. And now I believe that like God put us in this white room and gave us paint supplies and wants us to learn how to paint. And we're going to make mistakes. And that's just the process of learning. But if we show up and we really just like lean in, we're going to learn to paint some beautiful things. We're going to make some beautiful murals, and we're going to like leave this life with some beautiful lessons that enable us in the future. So that's kind of like a rough around. During the pandemic, I stopped going to church as much. It just started getting really tough. I'd be in sacrament meeting and just being like, I don't agree with that. And I know everyone's had that experience where you're like, someone says something over the pulpit and you're like, ooh, Sister Johnson's at it again. Talking about collab. And you're like, bruh, stick to the basics.
Yeah.
And I just started feeling like my beliefs and how I feel about like divinity and myself just was not being reflected in what I was experiencing. And so I was like, you know what? I've trusted God. I'll make a decision, and I know God will like guide me in the right direction. If that's like repentance, great. And if that's like encouragement, great. And so I was like, let me take a break from church. Man, every Sunday, I was like, this is nice. And so that was kind of my trajectory. And over time, it's like, I feel like me and you could say the church, which is like can refer to a lot of different things, kind of just grew in different directions. A lot of my friends are very active members. Some of my family members are. And I have no ill will. If anything, I really respect and honor this like religion that has been so formative in my life. And a lot of my beliefs stem from my LDS upbringing. So yeah, and I'm in no rush to be like to throw the baby out with the bathwater, to be like, it's all like that. I'm like, man, I love family nights on Mondays. I love the concept of like, even the concept of the atonement is so beautiful and hopeful and encouraging. Yeah. So there's like a lot I hold on to. Yeah. That's kind of been my trajectory.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully that was a lot. That was a lot.
No.
Bro, so first of all, my thing is like, I absolutely am grateful that you shared the journey the way you did, because I feel like as members of the church or just as Christians, I'll say Christians in general, when it comes to people who decide to have that type of lifestyle and have same-sex attraction, the immediate thing is judgment. It's like pure judgment. This is not how you're supposed to be. Right. You shouldn't be this way. And it's just like pure judgment. But you literally just outlined your entire journey. It's not like you just, like there was a process is that you literally took. It was an internal situation that you were dealing with. It was you one-on-one with God. And you took this before and actually sought answers. Oh, man. And I feel like on the outside, people just look at your lifestyle and the things that you decide to do, who you decide to be with, without even considering the backstory. The process that you went through to actually help you get to where you can finally be happy. It's kind of the journey, right? Like, man, now that they might have joy. That was also big for me. At my lowest, I was like, I don't think we're here to struggle and suffer. I just don't think that's right. Like, what's the point of someone coming and suffering for all our sins and all that if our goal is to be here and suffer more? That just doesn't make sense to me. So like the whole men are that they might have joy always like stuck with me. It's like, yeah, you should be enjoying this time, Not to say there's not going to be upsets and tough parts, but yeah.
Something else I loved about your journey was you, at your hardest time, you felt, after praying, you felt that regardless of whatever you were going to choose, that God loved you, and I think that's something that we miss, when we're out here doing whatever, we intentionally draw ourselves from God. And I think if we only knew how much love he had for us individually, through the things that we go through on a daily basis, then that could change everything.
Man,
That could change everything.
it really was like, it was so healing for me. And it made me realize I've been asking the wrong questions. Like the fix me narrative was like it was like, dude, you were never broken. like I made you how you should be. Like, it's like telling, you know what I mean? It's like telling, you know, like a horse not to run or a bird not to fly. It's like, yeah, I made you to be, like, go live, go learn. Yeah. So it's really important for me. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How have you, I mean, dealt with, I want to say, how have you, because I want to keep this open for discussion, because I know we all probably feel different, but like when it comes to people that, let's say, because your faith walk was LDS, you went and served a mission, so you essentially spent 2 years of your time going out teaching people about this restored gospel, and the beauty of families and the beauty of the Savior and his atonement to help clean up our lives. How have you dealt with coming out and the judgment that comes with that, in respect to knowing that you spent 2 years of your life teaching one thing, but then being receptive to, a particular judgment because of...
Yeah, that's actually an aspect that made it kind of tough. Was I was performing in Studio C. I was in I worked for the church, you know what I mean? I worked for BYU TV. And so it added pressure to this concept. We'd just done a face-to-face with all the LDS youth of the church. Like, it was like, people were like, parents were like pulling me aside, like, I want my daughter to marry a guy like you. And I was like, well, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, but you know what I mean? It was like, there was a lot of pressure. And I'm a big believer that, like, I feel like I'm a really big believer that, like, when you tell God you want something, he'll be like, bet. Like, really?
Yeah.
And it's not like in the sense like I'm doubting you and questioning you, but it's like, all right, well, like, good things require sacrifice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, growth requires change. And so, and I was like, all right, I'm on this journey to, like, be myself. It was like, all right, well, you ready to grow? I was like, let's find out. And I've always looked at part of that as, like, sometimes the public backlash, the judgment, the opposition. It's just part of some of these, like, things I'm learning to overcome to be my best self. Like, if you keep, like, just think about that, right? Like, you don't do what you feel is right because other people have thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if I remember that specifically when, like, the bishop was like, that one bishop, who, by the way, is a good guy. This is not a bad guy. This is a guy doing the best with what he had.
Right.
And sometimes he didn't have a lot of resources in that category. Like, he was like, you should marry a woman. If I would have married a woman, it would have been for him, because, like, oh, I want him to, I want to do what he wants. But he's not the one living that life, right? Like, that's the life I'm living.
Yeah.
So, like, you're going to make other choices for other people about your life, for the life you're living, and they're not living. It's like, that doesn't even make sense. And, like, like, being black in LDS already comes with a degree of criticism. You know what I'm saying? Like, being black and in Utah comes with a degree of criticism. Like, it's not my first rodeo. It was actually kind of interesting how, when I came out, from the backlash I had, it was actually really nice to take a lot of my experience being black in America or being black in Utah and, like, translating that. So, like, people are going to feel a certain way about you, whether they know you or not.
Yeah.
Like, we've been there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people are gonna have thoughts about how you should act and what you're doing without knowing anything about your life.
Right.
We've been there. So when people showed up and they were like, "Oh, I can't believe you did it," I would be like, "Oh yeah, get in line. This is my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Take a number." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna live my life for other people. Like, that's like, what a waste of time and energy.
And that's torture to yourself.
Yeah.
And I want to speak on that too, because I have a history with family members that, are gay, and my mother, we spoke, last night. You saw her video that we did with her. She was in a same-sex relationship for over 20 years. So I was raised by two women. So I feel like for me, I have a certain amount of respect and empathy and understanding, for people that choose to live that way. The thing that frustrates me personally as I continue my spiritual growth is how we as Christians, we don't know how to draw the line from personal judgment to, like, our responsibility of Christians of drawing people, to Christ. Because
that's kind of tough. Like, where does the line end, right?
I mean, so for someone like you, because you went, again, served a mission. There's a responsibility that Christians feel to preach the gospel.
Yeah.
And we have a certain belief about when it comes to same-sex marriage and gender. So, like, I guess I would want us to speak on, like, where is that line between judgment and just judging people and actually doing what you feel your responsibility is to lead others to Christ?
That's such a good question. I remember looking back at, like, as a teen, I remember, like, reading the Book of Mormon and being, like, with that same question in mind, like, when do you, like, love and when do you, like, encourage strongly? And I feel like that's an even harder question to answer as a parent. When your kid is like, you're like, my job is to, like, guide my kids in the right direction. And I do think there's a degree, especially in the Book of Mormon, I felt like it was really clear that, like, you have a responsibility to, like, maintain the sanctity of your communities, right? Like, we hear stories of people that were like, cities were were destroyed because people didn't have it together. And so you're like, man, I got to work to have I got to contribute to having my community together.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to say, that is a tough question. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Just gonna add my thoughts. I think just from my experience living life, sinning, doing my thing in life, and all the mistakes that I've made in life, I feel like regardless, and sometimes I know deep down my parents, when I made them upset, their love was still always there for me, and I like to think of that, like with Heavenly Father, like his love will be there regardless of the decisions that I make in this life. And so, like, because of that, I think, like, we should never try to take our love away, like, oh, he's doing this, or she's doing this. Like, our love should always be there for that person, regardless of what they're doing. And I think if we had that type of love, charity, so to speak, then our world will be a better place.
Yeah.
But it's our judgments that stop us from loving truly and giving, all that we have to particular people, and so, like, even with my kids, like, man, if my daughter came home and, was failing in school, like, of course I'm gonna be upset, but, like, that's not going to stop me from loving her.
Yeah.
Or if my daughter decides to marry someone that I don't like, that's not going to stop me from loving her.
That is tough. Like, just, like, opening that as wide as it can go. Like, someone you don't like, is that, like, the same gender? Is that, like, someone who's, like, disrespectful? Is that, like, what I mean? Like, that can encompass so much. That's tough.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stories out there.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about what you were saying too, man. It's like you mentioned it's difficult. It's difficult because we have so many people that have such diverse backgrounds and we have different viewpoints. That's, in my opinion, is where the difficulty lies. But I feel like it's simple because the Lord has this blueprint that has showed us how to have a good life and a peaceful life. And that's the love, just like Will was saying. Like, it's so hard. Like, if you want to end world hunger, in my opinion, love. If you want to end war, love.
Right.
Like, it's as simple as love, but people, and more specifically charity, which is, God's love and the way he loves. Because, I mean, we could have an ideal society if we take time to have this type of discussion. I absolutely know so much more about you and your journey because of how we're taking this time to discuss the process.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you listen to someone, it just enables you to understand them better and to love them more.
Yeah.
I agree.
And we're not having these, type of discussions as often as we should.
Yeah. So much more respect, for sure. I see your point of view, and not entirely because I'm not you, but I feel like I understand.
Yeah.
Like I see you.
One thing that's so freeing, I think, for me is, like, holding on to the goal that, like, it's not my job to convince people. It is just not my job. It's like, if I had to look at what my job is, if it's like my job is to convince you to go in a certain direction or to just, like, take you as you are, it's like all the time I'm going to take you as you are, unless you're, like, hurting people. That's one thing where I'm like, hold on, wait, but, like, it's just not my job. So even when I'm talking to people, it's like, and I have conversations with people that are like, gay people are perverts and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, and it's easy to get like emotionally invested because like, I can't change that about myself. This is who I am.
Right.
You know, or like more relatable, people are like, black people are dangerous. And it's like, I literally can't change this about me. But the idea is that like, I always default to like, it's not my job to convince them.
Yeah.
It's just not. And sometimes that helps because it leads its way into curiosity instead. So I'm like, tell me more. I'm curious to know why you feel this way.
Absolutely.
Like, even if I don't agree. My question for you guys though is, because I do love that concept of like love. Like love cures all, solves all is like the goal. Like not to rescind your love is really important. But I feel like sometimes love can be like, I feel like this is about faith too, where like sometimes like love, faith, grace, hope, these concepts are like, they have definitions, but they feel really intangible sometimes. Like it's really hard to like hold it in like an example. But like, for example, to rescind love would look like what? Because you wouldn't be like, you wouldn't be like your daughter comes back with bad grades. You wouldn't be like, I don't love you anymore until you get those grades up, right?
Yeah.
But like, what about is like grounding her? Is that rescinding your love, or is having her skip a meal, or you know what I mean? I'm just saying it's just like there's like such a spectrum, and sometimes I love to put like tangibles to the intangible. So like, for example, like what does that mean? Like how would you define love? Like maybe even examples. It's like, how do you show love without, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm actually curious about this because I don't have a working relationship with my mom. She's LDS, and the thing is, I have a lot of respect for her. She's a very hardworking woman, and I know that she's trying the best to be what she feels is right, which I will not fault. You know, it's like we're all just trying our best.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes that can look messy as we're like trying to figure things out. But she is not supportive of like me, which is, it's a choice she's making. And obviously that's like hard. That's not easy. But I know that she's trying hard to figure out how to love, but like also guide us. Also, I'm 36. So when it comes to guidance, it's a little different. But you know what I mean though? So like how does, because when I experience her behavior and like her decisions toward me, I'm like, oh, I feel very not loved. But I mean, she's just trying to figure it out. So I don't know. Does that make sense? Like the question of like, what is that? How do you,
Spot on.
what does that look like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you find the line, I guess?
Well, initially I thought about marriage, like of course you would love your partner until they die, and even after that, and
You're like, after they're gone, you're like, don't love them anymore.
but like, in my situation, my wife has gone through a lot of different health issues, like a slew of, like we've had a few babies that we've lost, our last child, Zion, one of the reasons why we named him Zion, he had a bunch of complications, we didn't think he was going to make it. And so I think like even when things get difficult, that's when we love even more, and I think.
Oh, we should anyways.
Yeah, we should. We should,
Great default.
Yeah.
But to your point about your mom, like, man, that's kind of something I'm navigating right now.
It's tough.
Like,
Yeah.
With my mom, where she wants to control our life. She wants to tell us how to do this, how to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, just to protect my peace, I have to distance our relationship right now.
And you have to represent you have to protect your family too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I still love her and still care for her, and I express that, daily. I'll send her a message, but I can't allow her mindset to, shift what me and my family have going on. And it's hard. And
she's probably doing it out of like, she thinks she truly believes she's doing what's best.
right.
So
But
like,
see, this is where I come in on that. Like, she's doing what's best or what she feel is best.
Yeah.
But I would combat with that. If you love someone, if the person you feel like you're doing what's best towards tells you this is not what's best for me, this is how I feel about that situation or ordeal, love would be that person surrendering to what that person really feels,
Like honoring their free
and
will.
honoring and then adjusting to what they really need. So for me, like love is it's selfless. It's like that selfless part of us that gives into somebody else's need, but at the same time, because you mentioned there's like with children, are you going to punish your children if they do something bad? Does that mean you don't love them? Well, the Lord says, whom I love, I chasteneth. So love, there is correction in love. And you can display love by correcting. But in this situation where it's like, are you being more of a grievance and annoyance? And if you are, and I tell you, love would be like surrendering, listening to me, and then adjusting. That's my personal
definitely.
take on it.
I love that. And I feel like the beautiful thing about that story is like I can immediately hear and be like, yeah, man, I feel the same way. I do feel the same way. But then all of a sudden, say you're in your mom's shoes and your kids or someone you care about is doing something that you're like, it's so clear to you that it's wrong. And you're so worried about the eternal salvation. And it's like right? It's like the application of that starts getting tough where it's like, oh, my kid is hanging out with a weird crowd. And if they're like, Dad, get off my back. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to let you do your thing. But you know what I mean? But like to what degree? And I think that gives me sympathy with people who are like coming at me with like pitchforks sometimes. Cause I'm like, they're doing their best, which doesn't mean that I don't hold boundaries.
Right.
But it's like, I can sit with the fact that like they're trying to do their best and they do what they think is right. Or sometimes they're like scared or something and the vitriol's coming towards me and I need to do what's best for me and my family, like protect me and my own. It's like, I think it's tough.
Look,
I don't think it's easy.
Yeah, in this situation, the only thing I can go to, shout out to Lehi in the Book of Mormon. He had 2 wayward sons, Laman and Lemuel. Did he ever, even though they went, we know their story, they went completely wayward to where he was teaching and seeking to guide them. Did he ever stop loving them? Did he ever stop encouraging them or blessing them? On his deathbed, after they tried taking his life,
Interesting example. Wow.
he still blessed them with a blessing. And so
I would have
yeah, like
immediately off the boat. Like,
exactly.
Like I would have been like, Nephi used to have that sword. Like, you know what I mean though? Like,
Yeah.
right. But that's an interesting
And
example.
so like when I think of that, like what you're explaining in terms of like from a parent's point of view, I mean Lehi, I feel like he's kind of one of the good parents we can look to and how to work with wayward children if we aren't looking to our Father in heaven himself, you know, and how he deals with us.
That's so interesting. That's an interesting point. I've never thought about that in all my studies of like Lehi. I'm like, maybe he should have like, I mean, I don't know, but he was getting up there in age.
I'm saying if my son tried to take, I don't know how, like you trying to kill me, like, and I'm gonna still give you my greatest blessings, like, come on.
Listen, I know someone's listening to, and they're like, oh, slow down a little bit. But I think that's the concept that it's tricky, and especially on these topics that feel so polarizing. So like sexuality, like I know when I talk to some people that they're like no deep in their hearts that like the way I live my life in this process is wrong. And that's so interesting for me to sit with, right? And I know deep in my heart of hearts, having experienced the spectrum that I've experienced, that the way I'm living my life is so right for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. I hear people sometimes, they'll give me the whole like, well, I'll be like, I'm happier than I've ever been. I don't feel like giving up on life. I don't feel like this or that. And they'll be like, well, wickedness never was happiness. And I'm like, and the thing is, and I think part of it, well, and you know what? And to be honest, I think we have a lot of examples, you know, in like the Book of Mormon of like the great and spacious building where it's like they're having so much fun, but we know that this is the right path. And sometimes I think that's a very dangerous mindset because immediately, no matter what I say about my experience, they're going to be like, it's not true. I know it because you're doing wicked things and it's not good for you. And it's not, you know what I mean? I don't know what the paradigm is, but I think they're trying to like, they're like, you can't be having fun. You can't be enjoying yourself. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, like my life it's better than it's been. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, I think that's another tough conundrum of like, and at the end of the day, I don't know, why do you need an opinion on other people's lives? You know what I mean? Like, it's so much easier just to be like, to take people where they are, make friends, kiki, haha, whatever, versus like having to have an opinion on everyone else's life. And I think if you are those types, you might need to look inside of why that's like so important to you. But anyways,
Absolutely.
I'd love to get your thoughts on.
No, you're good. Thank you, everyone that have been joining the conversation so far. Please like and subscribe on this video. We are so grateful to have you guys in part of this discussion with our brother Stacey. Also, please hit up those comments. We love to know your guys' perspective, especially as we're discussing navigating the differences between lifestyles and how we can be more loving and less judgmental.
How would you like for people to treat you, see
interesting.
you and your partner? You know, like how would you, what would that look like to you? You know, because I feel like we just all have those biases.
Yeah.
We have those prejudgments, you know, and I think like to your point that you made earlier, like you're done trying to fight that, you know, like.
Oh, this is not my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm going to take that on. I don't need to change like Karen's mind about my life. I'm like, she can stew. I'm gonna go be happy.
right.
I'm gonna go do me.
Right.
Now, if you start getting in the way of me living my life, that's where, you know, it's a different question. But, you know, I'm like, hey, I don't know. But I think that's a really good question. And I think to your point too about, I really like that concept of where you're like, you know what, you put yourself out there. And if someone says, this is not how I experience love, or this is not whatever, then you like honor and respect that. I actually really love that. And I actually feel like I have a lot of good LDS people in my life that like honor that and respect that. Like some of my good friends and stuff. My boyfriend, his mom is very active. And for Easter Sunday, she was like, oh, you should come to church with me. And he was like, I'm in. And I was like, oh, I want to go. He was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah, like I love it. It reminds me of like, it's like there's something, especially now, it's just like there's something nostalgic about it. And it's like, I grew up in that. And so it's kind of nice.
Right.
And we go to church on Easter Sunday. We kind of had the conversation where we're like, are we comfortable? Like, what are we going to do? Like we're just like, all right, let's see, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That, like we're going into an LDS church and we're like, okay, well, we might hear things, people might say things, we might encounter this. Like we have to like prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally.
And
Which I think is actually,
and it's unfortunate
Yeah,
you
that's kinda
have to
sad,
go in that
right?
way. Ideally, the ideal way, you wouldn't even have to do that.
yeah, it's like, you know, the house of the
Yeah.
Lord, you want it to be like, this is like the warmth, the most inviting place. And to the credit of his mom's ward, we show up and like people are just happy to have you here. Like it's good to see you because he kind of grew up in that ward. So they were like just all good vibes and love. And if people had negative things on their mind, that's between them and the Lord. That's not my business. But it was really well received. And that's not always the experience in every ward, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of every ward has sometimes it's like a different culture.
Yeah.
But that was really cool to experience and to encourage. And I think that honestly was like the standard that I want to have. If someone ever comes into my space, I want them to feel so welcome and so at home. When I think about like what our Savior would do, like I just think of like, no matter how you feel, Jesus wasn't like, he only threw tables at the money changers and the politicians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was always in the places that people least expected him to be in, like vibing. He was kicking it. You know what I mean? So I want that energy of like people coming into my space. And I love that. And I think part of it too is just like, people don't know, no one really, for the most part, people don't know what like is a line for you unless you express it. You know what I mean? Like how does your mom, how's she supposed to know she's like crossing lines unless you're like, hey.
Exactly. Yeah.
You took it too far.
And most people, I feel like parents are unique. You know, there's like different, most people are like, oh, shoot. Like you think about your spouse, when your spouse communicates something and you're like, I didn't even know that bothered you. You're like, oh, my bad. And then it's like, sometimes it feels like it's something small and you're like, oh yeah. Like, like little things. You're like, oh, okay, my bad. I didn't even know. But I feel like most people are pretty chill, but that's kind of my model is like, why would I want anyone to feel anything else besides like warmth in their presence and like invited and comfortable, like, and seen, you know?
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
I love that. I love what you said because that's something that we've been practicing. Like in my family, like my wife and kids, like we have this thing where we're like, all right, if we invite someone over, this is the way we want things to go.
Yeah.
But if we go to someone else's house or we're at a different function or something, we have no control over that. We need to be okay with that. Like, and I think people forget like that they don't have any control. Like, and they need to respect that.
Adaptability is respect, man.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love that.
And you can still have your beliefs and still show love and respect to someone, even though it's just like we had this conversation about politics a few episodes ago where
that's a topic
where we were talking about how like, okay, you voted for this person, but I'm still going to love and respect you, and I think we want to push our agendas on people, but that's not the way to go, man. Like, that's not it.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I have a hard time with too, where it's like, like we are at the end of the day, we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to get stuck in the weeds of like, well, how do you want to live your life with your partner? At the end of the day, we all want love.
Yeah.
We all want community. We all want family. You know what I mean? Like we all are very similar. It does get tricky though when you start getting into the weeds. Like I know we're not talking politics, but like it's one thing to be like, to disagree with someone about what to put on a pizza.
Yeah.
It's another thing when you're like voting against my rights as a person. It's like, it gets tough.
Right.
But just to say it's a tough tough concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And that's unfortunately, again, the world, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but again, in all of our diversity is so beautiful, but it's also so complex because we all have these different experiences that shape us and shape our mindsets. And that's where, where at what point does it take for us to center in, and this is again, and I don't want to kind of go on a tangent here, but this is why I love just religion in general, not just Christianity, but all religion, because there's always core elements to everyone's faith that's centered in something good. Whether it's faith, whether it's love, whether it's grace, every religion has like that core goodness at it. And when it's practiced and it's the way it's supposed to be, that's a great human being. You always have a good human being.
Man, and we're all just trying to, like, that's one of my core mottos is like, the world is full of good people trying the best with what they have. And sometimes they just don't have the resources. And so like some of those like racially insensitive comments I would get at BYU, it would be like, these aren't people, for the most part, these aren't people trying to hurt me. They just don't have the resources to understand that this is like hurtful. You know what I mean?
Hold on. I don't want to cut you.
Please.
But I saw one of your videos talking about how the most you've been called the N-word was from people that got Bible scriptures in their statuses and church scriptures, but yet they're... So can we really claim ignorance on that when people are really supposed to know better?
I think the concept, like at least with me, when I say, I wouldn't say it's like ignorance per se, but I would say in situations like that, have you ever like you guys have kids? Have your kids ever been like, I hate you? Or said something like that? Or been like, you stupid? Or they'll like call you a name? Or your kids like, not like that?
Not yet. Not yet.
I know you guys look at it like, you're like, I dare this.
Exactly, like, I wish he would.
I forgot what podcast I was on. But I feel like, you get that with like kids, like that trope of like, I hate you, and like slam the door.
Right.
And is it like, do they actually hate them, or are they experiencing something else? They're having a hard time feeling unseen or something like that. So often when people come at me with that kind of behavior, it's not like I'm like, oh, poor baby. I'm like, oh, be held accountable for your behavior.
Yeah.
Listen, don't worry about that. But it's the concept too of like, forgive them, Father, if they know not what they do. Like they don't, like if they knew how that word could cut and the historical ramifications behind it and where I'd come from and where I'd been, would they use that? Maybe not. But I just think like at the end of the day, it's just like a lack of education. They just don't have the resources.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I ain't gonna lie, that was one of my favorite words before my conversion.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that was just how we, and like culturally, that's
different.
how, like when we use
like,
it.
using it in camaraderie versus like as an insult or a way to, what I mean?
But even to this, like now at this point, even when I am referred to that way from one of my black brothers, like respectfully, I respect where they come from because culture, but I would rather not be referred to that way because of, but I understand it's a tie, it's a word that we have that culturally binds us and it's camaraderie.
I think that's a good.
But there's still, like you said, like, I don't know, it's like when I hear females that are like girlfriends call one another the B word, like, but then let another female call you that. It's a problem. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
do y'all know Ta-Nehisi Coates? I don't want to say his name for sure. I've only read it. He's like a black scholar, academic, and he got that question once at a seminar where someone was like, "How come black people can use that word and it's like connective, and white people use that word and it's like crossing a line?"
And let it be one of your white like a white guy friend of yours, like y'all tight, girlfriend, don't, but he still can't use that word.
Boyfriend use that word.
But like, is he still allowed to use it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the concept though, which I love, is like, it's kind of along those lines though, of like, and I kind of really resonate with that. It's like certain words are reflective of certain relationships.
Yeah.
So for example, do you have a nickname you call your wife?
Absolutely.
Wait, like what? Like
Love.
what do you call her? You call her Love?
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you?
Bae.
Bae?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that inappropriate to call your wife that?
No.
Would it be inappropriate to call another woman that?
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's because the context of the relationship and the word can really shift how the word is used. So in one context, it's like a term of endearment. And in another context, boy, you better watch it. Like, what? So whether it's like women calling each other the B word in like a social setting, it's like, and that's like a thing with them. It's like, that's connective. Or even calling each other brother or something like that. It's like, that's connective, but in a different setting, it can be inappropriate, which I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because coming from another black person, it feels like I feel seen or related to, depending on how it's used, of course.
And I get it, which is why I don't say nothing when another brother said.
you're like,
but at the same time, it's like, dang, I mean, we are trying to come out of, you know what I'm saying?
I stopped using it as much in Utah because there are a lot of white people here, and I was like, this is a lot of conversations to be had.
Yeah.
People are like, we could use it. I'd be like, oh, whoa. Let's time out. But I think that you could see that. I think that's one of the best examples is like in your relationship with like an intimate relationship with your significant other, there's terms you use that wouldn't be appropriate in other ways. Yeah. Or if someone else called you that, like, even
like, girl, you better watch it. Hey. You know?
And then, whether people vibe with that or not, whatever, but I think that's the concept behind it, which I love. I think that's very cool. Yeah, it's very true. It's like what I call my partner, what I call my boyfriend is like, yeah, I wouldn't call it that. It's weird. But I mean, I love that. And I think a lot of it too comes down to like words or just like, sometimes like it's less about what the word is and more about what you mean from it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm joking with my friends and someone calls me stupid, they're like, man, you're so stupid. Like that's one
thing.
But if I was like in school and then a teacher called me that, I'd be like, oh, that's like they just words. It's like the significance can mean a lot. Anyways, whatever. We could dive into that. I have thoughts.
I can dig it, bro.
Man, wait, I have a question for y'all. Like, just like, I'm a really big believer, and correct me, and I would love to hear your thoughts. If you disagree, great. That we all kind of believe different things, even in a setting of like, even in like everyone's LDS, it's like people believe different things. Like even the way people see and experience God is like different. Like some people experience God as like a loving, like warm presence. Some people experience him as more as authoritarian, like destroy this. Like some people are just like, you just have different experiences, which is why we have these discussions in church where people are on different pages. How do you navigate that? Because even in some of the ways you guys talk about relationships and like God, it's like feels a little different than other ways I've heard other people talk about it. I don't know. How is that nowadays? Is that tricky? Is that easy? Do you feel like it's like...
Man, for me, it's all been about the personal relationship with God, man. Like, for me, I've really concentrated on my membership as a Latter-day Saint of having that one-on-one relationship with the Savior, knowing and finding out how much He knows about me, which I know He knows everything, but me feeling that and getting that witness, but also the journey of me learning about Him. Like I've had experiences where I have been chastised by Him. and have felt it, but in the same way have felt his forgiveness and have felt his love. And so I feel like when it comes to the view of God and deity in general, it's all about the independent personal relationship that you are gaining through him by keeping his commandments. Because that's when I have felt anyways that I feel like I'm growing closer, is when I'm exercising that faith to do the things that he asks of me. And so when it comes to people having like a one, because I mean, God, he's shown in scripture, he's many things. He is the judge. He is the authoritative figure. He is the loving, kind, merciful God. Like he has a lot of titles because he's a lot of things, and I feel like he's that way because we need him to be that way in certain phases of our lives. Sometimes we need that tough love in certain phases. Sometimes we need more love, more forgiveness. You know, he's a culminating and personification of love, which we talked about a little bit. Like love can be all of those things. Yeah. And I feel like he is that in that tangible form. And so when people are like, no, God is this way. Yeah, he may be that way, but he's also another way. Right. And he's a certain way when you need him to be and when he needs that to be that way in your life.
I always felt like, sometimes I was like, I remember thinking growing up, I was like, what's the point of the Spirit, of the, like having that, the Holy Ghost, if like we have the Bible and we have the Book of Mormon and we have like prophets, seers, and revelators, and we have like all these instruction, it's like, what's the point? And for me, it comes down to like everyone's journey is different. And if everyone's journey is different, then you actually absolutely need something to uniquely guide every person. You know what I mean? Right. Because I was like, other than that, I'm like, what's the point? It'd just be like, go to the handbook. That's exactly what you need to do. But I kind of love that where it's like the personal relationship. That's cool.
And one of the things you can go because I know you want to speak on it. That it's in the Book of Mormon, or a teaching in there, is that the Spirit will speak to us in a way that we understand.
Our language.
In our own language, exactly. And everybody's language is different, as we know. So the Spirit may be able to touch you in a way that it won't be able to touch me because that's my own distinct language.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something similar. Just, I think through my own experience, you know, like Isaiah was saying, like just the ups and downs of my life. You know, trying to figure it out, you know, like when you were talking about, you know, being on all fours, you know, your hands and your knees. I thought about times where I was like
closer to God.
But yeah, and then keeping that constant communication open. Yeah. You know, after I received that answer, I've had to learn that, okay, there might be more. Let me find out if there's more, you know, and so just doing that over and over and over again, you know, and not being satisfied once I get the answer, you know, and
it's so hard to know, like, do I stay on the course or whatever the course might be? If you like choose, I'm going to go to school and do this, and you're like, am I making the right decision or do I change? Yeah. It's tough. It's tough in these streets, man.
It is.
Like, what's the point, right? We're here to learn.
It is, man. Bro. And I've kind of learned to not go to him in such trivial matters, because I mean it's another teaching. Like we're agents unto ourselves, and he knows by our own decisions we are happiest.
So what's like, where's the line for you? Like trivial versus like, what's the thing where you're like, I'm not gonna.
Now this may be a hot topic because this is such a big thing. Maybe. But when people pray, when a lot of, you know, especially young couples, they're like, I need to pray and ask who my husband is or my wife is. I personally don't think that is something God is gonna tell you, like, this is who you need to be with. I feel like it's a matter of courting, dating people, making that decision if this person is that person for you, and then take that decision. I mean, if you want to take that decision to God and be like, I've made my choice, this is who it is, and get confirmation, sure. But to say like, pick my partner, I feel that's an unpopular opinion probably, because I know a lot of people do that and believe that, but I personally think that's more of a trivial and something very personal that God wants you to choose and decide.
At first I was like, that is a hot topic. But when you explained it, I was like, oh, like, you're just saying, like, take the information you have and, like, research. Like, before you buy a car, do the research. Don't just, like, buy the first thing. Yeah. And I like that, like, where it's like, you can, like, pray for God's help on a test. But isn't the point to like
Study.
that you studied and like learned information?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I see you. I see you.
Yeah.
Someone's teaching Sunday school. I like it. And then, but even back to like unique relationships,
Right.
with God and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I had to learn that, like I had a few girls that proposed to me.
Wow.
Wait, what?
Bro, I got home.
What?
I was home for like 2 months. I already had 2
The
proposals.
Riz Will has.
No.
We'll say, like y'all are out here looking for partners. They're proposing to me
Yeah, I wasn't that lucky. I was not that lucky.
and not relate.
But my current wife, after thinking, like you said, thinking about it, I was like, man, like these are the qualities that my current wife has, And
Have you been married before?
no.
Oh,
I know, because he said that like,
you're like,
bro, what you got another?
I was like, oh.
I was on the same spectrum, trust,
We
bro.
both-
Like
we
your
both were
current wife.
Her wife was making moves.
Polygamy.
Bro, you go.
Be faithful. I just say you're gonna. I hope she
You gotta be divorced, bro.
Did she watch this?
Yeah, I'm already cooked. But yeah, I think that was my process as well, and that's the process that I've kind of created for my life,
Of just like navigating that personal relationship.
yeah, careers, and everything, like I just try. I don't think Heavenly Father's gonna be like, hey, go be a basketball player, or hey, go marry this person.
Yeah.
I think it's more so just navigating it and taking it to him. And
That's so interesting. And it's cool that people have different relationships, right? Or different like experiences. So
Right.
like there might be someone who's like, man, I take everything. That's my mom. She's like, everything. She's like sitting in the store looking at 2 different types of toothpaste. She's like, give me a moment.
Wow.
And so, that's kind of an extreme side, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, hey, like,
Yeah,
that's wild. That's really interesting. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, and then it's all different, man. But he said it's not meat that he should command in all things,
right.
We're agents to ourselves, and I feel like a big part of that just plays in us being happy because we're happy when we're making choices for ourselves that bring us joy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just going back, we using the Book of Mormon a lot today, and Lehi and his family, Bruh. But I mean, even thinking about Nephi being commanded to build a boat, right? Like instead of him like asking Heavenly Father like where he could get the tools to build the boat, he just asked like where he could like find like basically the resources, and the Lord guided him to those resources, and he made the tools.
exactly.
So like
And even to be said, like, I one thing I love about this is I do not believe in the Book of Mormon like I did, right? I don't.
Yeah.
But there's still like so many beautiful gems. Like I love that. I love that concept too of like, how are you showing up in life? It's like you want to do something, you want to accomplish something. Are you like, how am I going to do it? Or are you like, you know what? Or like, how am I going to do it versus I can't do it? Like versus you could be like, I can't versus like, all right, let's build a boat.
Yeah.
And I think that is like super empowering. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Man, I dig. I love that. That's good stuff.
This is good, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate the time.
Oh.
Man, this has been great conversation. We appreciate you, our audience that have been tuned into this episode. Again, please like, subscribe, get into the comments. Shout out our brother Stacey. Where can also you got a good social media platform? Where can our audience go and check out?
Good is the subjective word. But
Great. You got a nice little following.
It's a platform.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram under Stacey Harkey. Yeah. Or mainly Instagram. I'm on like TikTok and Instagram. Twitter, I'm so messy. So don't find me on Twitter.
Okay. Find them on Twitter
Twitter's
or
chaos,
X.
man.
X, they call it
yeah,
X now.
I just feel like that sounds shady to be like, I'm on X.com. No.
Yeah.
You can find me on- Yeah. I was like, nah, no thanks. You want me on Twitter.
Yes.
Or Instagram. Sorry.
Instagram. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me. It was good. It was fun.
Remember, everyone, this is a super safe space for everyone to come in, comment, and be just reunited to, again, an initiative to become more one with one another. Thank you, Stacey. Appreciate you, man. And till next time, we will see you guys.
Gathered in in the foyer where the light shines bright. Brothers in the gospel, walking in his might, talking about the Savior, feeling so divine.